everyone, this is Chiwe from DOG WOOF. In this series of videos, I'll be showing you how to crochet an adorable Stanley Duck Amigurumi. I'll be going over all the different skills you'll need to put this guy together, so by the time you're done with this tutorial, you'll have your very own stuffed animal. This is a baby Stanley Duck that I made from worsted weight yarn. This is Lion Brand Vanna's Choice in Mustard and Fisherman. And in this first video, we're going to be working solely on the body. You'll be learning the magic circle, which is what we start with right here at the bottom, and the body is worked from bottom up. And we will also be talking about the different types of joins that you can use to join your rounds. I use two different types of joins in this duck amigurumi pattern. One type of join for the body and another type of join for the wings and for the leg. So we'll talk about that as well. So by the end of this first video, you'll be able to work the body up to just before you have to close the top of the head. And then in later videos, we'll talk about the type of stuffing you can use for both small ducks and large ducks, how to attach safety eyes, and then how to attach the beak, close up the top of the head, and also how to attach both the wings and the legs to the body. I'm going to be working with Woolies Thick and Quick. This is a super chunky yarn, but it has good stitch definition and it's not super fuzzy. And it recommends a 9mm hook to work with this size yarn, but I'm actually going to work with a 6.5mm. I'm dropping it quite a bit because I want to keep the stitches tight. With chunky yarn, sometimes it can get a little too loose. So if you see in my sample, this is done with worsted weight, and I think I used a G hook to keep the stitches tight. So I'm going down a hook size for the chunky yarn, also just to keep my stitches close together, and it prevents the stuffing from coming out. So you start off with a little bit of a tail, and then start as if you were going to create a slip knot, but don't actually complete the slip knot. Stop halfway through, and then yarn over and finish a single crochet. So now you have this loop or the circle. This is your magic circle. So you're going to work all of your single crochets into this loop, and then at the end you're going to pull this tail, and that's what's going to close off the hole right in the middle. So the pattern calls for 6 single crochets. I'm actually working this in a fairly loose gauge because my hook is already so small. I don't need to make this super tight. And then again, with a small hook, you may have a few issues just grabbing on to the yarn. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I've made 6, and then the magic part is if you take this tail and you pull it, you're going to see that everything pulls together and the hole in the middle is closed off. Okay, and then we're going to join our round just by inserting our hook into the first stitch that you made. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then just make a slip stitch. So that closes off our first round. Okay, and then at any point you can pull the tail tight if you feel like the circle's starting to come apart. So the next round we chain 1, and then we're going to work starting in the same stitch that we use as the join. We're going to work 2 single crochets per stitch. We're going to increase our stitch count up to 12. So this first one is always a little bit tight. That's 2, and then the rest get easier. And again, keep your gauge fairly loose, keep your tension fairly loose, because the yarn is bulky enough to kind of fill in those extra spaces. Okay, so we're coming up on the last 2 stitches here, and this was our round 2. So now I have to close off this round, and this is where it's going to get a little bit different. So normally I would close off a round by inserting my hook into the first stitch of the round and then completing a slip stitch. But what happens if you use it, if you always close your rounds off that way, is that your seam is going to wander or spiral. So I'm going to pull up my sample here, and you can see, even I use a different method that I'll show you in a little bit, but even so you can see that, you know, where the seam is actually travels along the back. So if I had used the normal method of joining, this would have been even more distinct, and the seam would have kept spiraling, so that by the end of this body it would have been probably somewhere across its face. So I'm going to show you a different way, the way that I used to join for this sample. So we're at the end of the round, and what you're going to do is pull up, just loosen up that last loop, and then remove your crochet hook. Now you're going to find the first stitch of the round. You're going to take your crochet hook and you're going to insert it from back to front. So normally we work front to back and pull up a loop. In this case, we're going to work from back to front. And then here's our working yarn. We're not going to touch that for right now. We're going to take that loop from the last stitch of the round, put it over the hook, and then pull that loop from front to back. And then you want to pull tight, and then you can take the working yarn and pull that tight. Okay, so I can show you that one more time. This is the last stitch of the round. Take your crochet hook, back to front, get the loop, pull it from front to back. You pull this tight, and of course you have all this leftover yarn here, and that's just the working yarn, so you just pull that back. And that ends round 2. And what I like about this is you're going to chain 1 to start the round, but you'll always know that this is your first stitch. Sometimes it's in the other method, it's a little bit harder to see the first stitch, but this is where we start. So after I do my chain 1, I'm going to put my single crochet right into this first stitch. Now chain 1 calls for 3 single crochets and then a triple increase. So that's 1, 2, 3 single crochets, and then a triple increase, which is just what I happen to call it, is 3 single crochets worked into the same stitch. 1, 2, 3. And these 3 stitches end up becoming the corner of the triangle. So we're going to repeat this pattern 3, 3, 2 more times around. Okay, so now we're at the end of the round, and you can see a bit of a triangle, a bit of a point. It's a soft point, but it's a bit of a point that's forming. We're going to pull up this loop a little, remove your crochet hook, look for the first stitch in the round. In the first stitch, it actually bends towards the back a little bit, so you're going to have to flip this out, and you'll see that's the first stitch right there. Insert hook from back to front, grab the loop, pull the loop from front to back, and then take your working yarn and pull that tight. And that's how you close the seamless join. That was the end of round 3. So now we're going to do round 4, which is 5 single crochets, which is along the side, and then a triple increase in the corner. And again, trying to keep my stitches loose and let the yarn sort of take care of filling in the spots. And then 3 single crochets in the same stitch for the increase. So that was one pattern, and then we do that pattern 2 more times. And you'll notice that the join is not actually at the tip of the triangle because we just created the tip. The join is actually just offset. And again, with the seamless join, you're going to pull this loop. This is the last stitch of the round. Remove your crochet hook. Find the first stitch of the round. You kind of have to go into the back and flip it forwards. insert your hook from back to front, grab the loop, pull the loop from front to back, and then pull it tight. Okay, and we're going to continue one more round because I wanted to show you something in a little bit. So the next one is actually 7, 2. So on this round, we have done, if you look back, that was our 6, and then our 12, and then we did 3 single crochets and then an increase, and then a 5 and then an increase, and this one was a 7 and an increase. Now you would think that in the next one we're going to do 9 and an increase, but we're not, because as you increase, the points actually spiral, so it starts looking off. So in order to center the triangle back a little bit, we're actually going to offset that corner a little bit back. So instead of doing 9 single crochets along the edge and then the corner, we're actually going to do 8 and put the corner would have ended here, and we're actually going to shift the corner up a little bit and just kind of counteract that sort of spiral by moving everything a little bit clockwise. So same thing, I've done a chain 1, single crochet. Okay, so if we had gone on, the corner would have been over here, which would have been a little bit off. We're going to do the corner 1 stitch early. But because we're still increasing by multiples of 6, in order to make the math work out, we still have to have 9 in this set, and we've done 8 with the corner, so we're going to do 9 and finish it off with a single crochet. So that's our repeatable pattern. And then along this side, we're going to do the same thing. It's going to be 8, work the triple increase, and then finish that pattern with a single crochet at the end. Okay, and then here you're going to see, you're going to work 8, you're going to do the corner right at the tip, and then this last stitch will actually just be a single crochet instead of working the triple increase into the last one. We'll do a single crochet. Okay, pull up. That's one way to just kind of hold on to your spot. You can flatten it out and take a look. So you can see there's points now. It's kind of a soft triangle, but it is definitely a triangle shape. And I think that makes it easier, so we know that this is going to be the back of the duck and that these two are going to be the front of the duck. And that way we'll leave the seam in the back. And at some point you're going to want to go back and fasten your magic circle off, because as you can see, as I worked, it kept loosening up. There's really nothing here holding it in place, and you don't want this to fall apart once a child starts playing with it. So we're going to secure the magic circle. So I have just a big tapestry needle, and I fed the yarn, the tail end through. I don't really have a particular method. I like to just find one place to hook my needle through and then tie a knot. I have no idea if this is the right way of doing it, but this seems to work for me. There's toys that I've made years ago that are still holding together, and then I like to just hold the knot and then pull it tight. So it's just a knot. You can tie a square knot, you can tie whatever knot you like, and then I just kind of feed it through a couple stitches, whatever I like. And then I can cut off this tail. And that's it. Okay, so that's closing off the magic circle. And we're going to continue making the body. You can see there are holes. There's always going to be holes because it is such chunky yarn, but we're also going to be working with different kinds of stuffing as well, which I'll go over in another video. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.